lounging, son.
Welcome back to it. Welcome back to another episode of the Comic Lounge Podcast, guys. I am your host, Dylan, the tongue twister, over here tripping on his own tongue. And with me, as always, my co-host, the ever-sipping coffee drinker, Ryan Balcom. And we are back with another episode of Jason Aaron's Thor run. This is the Godbomb, Volume 2. And this is where everything is cracking. So, without further ado, let's just go ahead. Huh?
This is where things heat up.
Yeah.
Start to fucking really... Shit hits the fan with this arc, dude. Like, this is where we learn a little bit more about Gore.
Yeah.
A little bit about why his motives are for doing what he does. And just like it's called, Godbomb, this motherfucker has a bomb that when set off, will kill all the gods across all space and time.
So
that's insane,
yeah. So let's talk about delusions of grandeur here. So like we talked about in the other episode, Jason Aaron sets into motion the concept of a godless era, right? Where he believes that gods are useless. They don't care about anyone but themselves, and they never have. They created nothing. They're basically good for nothing. So he sets off on a crusade. A holy war, if you will. And he sets off to go and kill gods everywhere. Every single pantheon of God on every world. And the vast multitude of that is freaking infinite. Like, you know, we're talking about all-powerful beings of different planets and different, like, galaxies falling to one guy, essentially. I didn't get a chance to say this in our last episode, but Gore, within 11 issues, became one of my favorite villains ever created by Marvel.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I think that's testament of great writing, great design, and like we said in the last episode, the fact that that's the main villain in a Thor movie. This character that was created
in 2012. Well, released in 2012, yeah.
9 years ago. It was just it was 8 years when they decided to have him in the movie. That's what I meant to say. So that is crazy in and of itself. To see a storyline taken that was only created that long ago and be adapted into a movie also speaks to the level of quality that we're getting in the comic book and the fact that it resonated with so many fans that not only are fans excited to see it, but that the people that make the movies wanted to adapt it into film in some way, shape, or fashion. Like, we're not going to get, obviously, like, a straight adaptation. And that never bothers me.
No, that's fine. But we also don't have the time for that.
Right. It's like there's too much lead up, right? To get to that point, and then the unworthy Thor. Like, that's years of storytelling that you can't really put into one film. But I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just happy that Jason Aaron's work is getting recognition in terms of that, right?
That deserves.
And by the way,
fun deserves.
And I didn't say in the last episode, Marvel, Kevin Feige, you better fucking have Jason Aaron cameo in this fucking movie. You had Jim Starlin in fucking Infinity War or Endgame in that little scene at the end with the 5 years later.
Yeah.
You had Jim Starlin in that room. You better have fucking Jason Aaron somewhere in this movie. That is a crime if you don't have him. I mean, you had Brubaker.
They had Brubaker in Winter Soldier. Yeah. Like, that's freaking cool. Like,
let's go.
They put Liefeld's name all over Deadpool movies. Like there has to be some sort of head nod here. This is. I mean, I feel like a broken record, but this is some of the best writing. Like, I can't emphasize enough how enthralling every character is. One thing that we get here is we get a deep dive into the 3 different Thors, right? We get an idea. Well, throughout the main run, we've gotten an idea about who our present day Thor is at the time of this book, right? And then we get a deep dive into young Thor, of his brazenness, of the fact that he can't fly, like, you know what I mean?
Cocky.
He's cocky.
He's a douchebag. He's kind of a douchebag.
Yeah, and he's over here telling stories, regaling people of the whole villages with his stories of, like, fighting monsters in, like, different places and planes and worlds, and, like, you know, you see how how mythology and a religion can be built around a person like Thor,
Mm-hmm.
because of how grandiose he is, and how verbose he is about all these adventures and all these like crazy things that a human mind back then couldn't even begin to perceive. Right? You can see how a religion was built around him. But then, like, then you flash forward and you get glimpses of King Nothing, King Thor, how it's just like none of it all mattered, because at the end of it, it was just him and a broken Asgard sitting there, eye patch, metal arm, ratchety as shit. Just he's the Clint Eastwood of Thors right now. Like King Thor is a Clint Eastwood of Thors. Just the fuck get your freaking berserkers off my lawn.
Yeah,
like you know what I
instead
mean?
of his Gran Torino, yeah,
Uh,
he's just sitting on his throne. Yeah, I think that I love this. I like the first arc, but the second arc I like just a touch more because the Thors now are together. Like all the different areas. I love the fact that young Thor has to watch present day Thor and old Thor with their hammers, and this motherfucker can't even lift Mjolnir yet.
Yeah.
So like I like that aspect of it. I love the banter between them. Like King Thor is like he's just talking shit. He's like, you got pretty much neither one of you know shit. You have no idea what you're in place for. And he kind of puts young Thor in his place throughout the story. It's interesting to see. And then young Thor, his opinion of the older Thors. Yeah. You know what I
mean? Like, when did I grow old and become my father? When do I grow old and become my father?
Yeah.
like one of my favorite lines. One of my favorite lines too. He's like, I'm you, albeit I have a much more marvelous beard. Yeah. And then like I like how he kind of like bases like present day Thor on what exactly happened to him. So he'll mention things that haven't happened yet, and he's like, "Oh, don't worry about it then." Like, are you living on the sun yet? Like policing the galaxy? Like what? It's like, oh, nothing.
Yeah, I love that, and this is one of the reasons. I'll say it briefly because I don't want to get into it. We're talking about Jason Aaron. Yeah. This is one of the reasons I have a little bit of issue with Donny Cates' Thor, and it's because he basically got rid of everything that would have taken place with King Thor. Gave him the eye, got the eye back, got the arm back. You know what I mean? Like, so like it almost erases what could take place with. I mean, I guess he could lose an eye again. I guess he could lose an arm again. But it was just so like sudden. Like all of this is all gone. You know, and I wanted to see. I wanted to see some of the lead up into what Jason Aaron was kind of laying the seeds for. Like we did get the King Thor, we got the End of Time Thor, and I liked that version of Thor, and I wanted to see more going into that. And I get it, like this is comics, you know, new writers take over, they change shit up, new creators do whatever, you know, like they put their own spin on it. But I like that version of Thor, and I want more. Like I would pay monthly for this version of the Old Man Thor. Like I want to see that. I think he's an interesting character. I think it's like there's so much you can play with, so much stories that you could tell from that, because he really does. He looks like Odin, right? He kind of mirrors Odin, except Odin never lost a fucking arm, and it's the opposite eye. But it's, you know, much like young Thor says, like you are my father. Like King Thor, the way he, like you can feel the like almost like heartbreak that like, oh, you guys have no idea what I've had to go through, you know, like, and which is why he is kind of similar to Odin. Like he has seen some shit. A lot of stuff happens. We see it at the end of Godbomb, why he is kind of the way he is and what happens to Midgard. And like that's like you're like, oh fuck, you know, like
that was you know what I mean, like later on in the run you get more of an understanding and more tidbits as it goes along, as far as like what King Thor has gone through, especially when it talks about Earth, right? Especially when they talk about Earth is Earth is his favorite. It's always been his favorite. I mean, obviously he's an Avenger of Earth. I think I think showcasing the 3 timeline Thors is a very fantastic thing. It's for especially for readers in our range, right? In our age range, where we're in our mid-30s and we're kind of like seeing things a lot more clearly now. But also, it also gives understanding that we really know nothing as well, right? Like it's our old selves that's going to be looking back at our what's that saying? Youth is wasted on the young. That's what I feel like. Like I'm one of the older young guys in the kitchen. So it's like I'm like dead in the middle, and then like there's people who are like in their 40s in the kitchen, and then there are people in their 20s, and then there's a couple like in their teens still, right?
Oh shit!
And
Okay.
So like I feel like I'm like dead ass in the middle where I hear them talking about their stories, and I just like shake my head. I'm like, to be young again.
Yeah.
Like to be 18 without a care in the world. And it was like what girls complaining to me is like, no, I gotta go to school. My parents are telling me I gotta move out. I'm like, you'll be fine. I'm like, what? And it's like, no, I'm not gonna have any money. He's like, dude, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Yeah. Like, just go. Like you don't know how hard and how easy it is until you just go. And I feel like there's a lot of that in what do you call like going on between King Thor and young Thor, where it's just like you shut up, just listen to what I say and stay alive. Like, you know what I mean?
There's a couple lines he drops to fucking young Thor. This is at the end, but when he's like, you'll never kind of like you'll never please him, you'll never be the son he wanted. I was like, oh my god, that's fucked up. That is so fucked up. And then when young Thor walks off, he's like, I wasn't just talking to him. And I'm like, oh fuck, dude. So you just fucked him up, and then you also just fucking threw some shade at present day Thor. Like because he doesn't care. He's old. And other characters that we learned about too that I love are his granddaughters.
Yeah.
I fucking love those characters, and they return also throughout the run. We don't get to see much of them here, but we see enough to where I'm like, dude, another great addition that he kind of added into the lore of Thor in this Marvel's version of Thor, because obviously DC has a version of Thor, and other companies do. To me, this is Thor. I don't care what other company tries to produce a Thor comic; it's never going to be Thor to me. As a comic book fan, but I love, and this one is just really like Shadrach is in here, like you mentioned in the last episode when you told me, like Shadrach,
like the god of summer but you're really the god of butchers, the god of bombs.
So like that's interesting. Like we learn that he is the one that helps Gore build this bomb, and it took 900 years.
Yeah.
So So I was gonna say, so Thor knew fear back then, right? When he was young Thor, but so did Gore. That day in that cave, that battle that they had, fucked both of them up a little bit. You know what I mean? Like they both saw fear because of each other, and so that whole time that Gore was gone, he's been building this motherfucking bomb, right? And it's crazy you think about a villain biding their time and planning something out. 900 fucking years.
Yeah.
All right. So he's been enslaving gods this entire time too, while building this, and watching Thor going around like after he goes to the library, right? And he's seeing god after god and their dead bodies, right? That one god that he talks about wrestling black holes.
Yeah.
Just a massive fucking god that's just like the dead body's been there for however long, right? And he talks about, I was traversing the spaceways, and the last time I saw him was when we waved hello as we were going through space. And just like imagining that, like I literally visualize this whole scene in my head. And that also is another thing I really love about Jason's writing, is that he can paint a picture. He can fucking verbally paint a picture for you, and then I can see it in my head with Esad Ribic's art, and just like thinking of all these all these different scenarios of like, you know, Thor and his interaction with these gods and his history with them. Like that, so many stories could come from this too. And like, that's also what really makes this feel like just bigger in scope, because even though we don't get these scenes with these characters, like just as he's describing them, it just magnifies what we're given on the page.
The level and the magnitude of the storytelling in these first two arcs are honestly a sight to see. You know, I've been familiar with Jason's work prior to this, you know, with his Wolverine run, his X-Men and Wolverine run, like he this is I feel like this is quintessential his writing though. Like I feel like with Thor,
Scalped, really.
No, I haven't read Scalped.
See, Scalped was
Marvel.
Yeah, but Scalped was his first really like ongoing series. You realize that, right? Like he wrote a one shot story for Wolverine at Marvel, and then immediately was given Scalped.
Oh wow.
That's why like this book would have been picked up by me immediately, because like I was a fan from Jason Aaron. The minute I picked up volume 1 of Scalped, because I didn't get the ongoing or the singles, but Nick recommended Scalped to me actually.
Right.
And I fell in love with Jason Aaron's writing. And I think that if you would have picked up that book, that Scalped might have been your favorite Jason Aaron right next to Thor, because it's phenomenal writing, and that's something we have to read together.
Okay.
But yeah, this is it's interesting. Wolverine was your entry point to Jason Aaron. That's cool. Of course, it was Wolverine. Of course.
Dude, Wolverine Goes to Hell is sick as fuck.
It was.
Wolverine versus the X-Men, sick as fuck. Wolverine's Revenge, sick as fuck. Like that shit. That's you could tell that Jason Aaron really loves the characters that he writes, because he takes an extra step to make sure that their voices are correct. Not correct, but like something that I like. It's the Wolverine that I like. You know what I mean? It's the this is the Thor that I like. This is the Ghost. This is the Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider run that he did that I just recently finished. That's the Johnny I fucking hate Danny Ketch. Danny Ketch used to be my fucking Ghost Rider. No, I fucking hate that fool now, and that's because of Jason Aaron. Like, you know what I mean? Like 90s Danny Ketch Ghost Rider, that was our generation's Ghost Rider. Like, you know what I mean? I always was kind of whatever about Johnny Blaze until like Midnight Suns. Midnight Suns was fucking cool, but like I was whatever about Johnny Blaze because it's like you're like Ghost Rider, but your head's not on fire, because you know that was like during the 90s where Johnny wouldn't like do the whole flame on thing, and you know, but like I digress. But like he has a really good way of giving these characters these voices and making you care about them. Like every single character, I felt some type of way about every character that is written in this book, whether it be like how I'm excited for his granddaughters to finally show themselves, how badly I felt for Shandrak, and like how fucking kind of disgusted I was when you find out like all like the weird wicked shit that Gore's been doing to people. Like he cut off Shandrak's eyelids just to make sure that he wouldn't stop watching him torture his fellow gods. Like what?
Yeah, he's a fucking psychopath. And there's a part too, like with Gore, because Gore's become all powerful because of what is now we learn in this arc, the all black necro sword, right?
Yeah.
Which is where you were talking.
Wow.
Yeah, which is Null. So Donnie took that from Jason, which is, I'm not mad about that. I think that's cool. I think that's pretty cool that he kind of paid homage to fucking Jason Aaron's
later
stuff,
on,
you know?
later on in the run, you kind of find out that it belonged to the symbiote god. So it was actually, without giving him a name, Jason Aaron inadvertently created Null.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like a symbiote. So, like, I mean,
when you see the armor on the thing, you see the
but I never connected that. I never thought about that when I was originally reading it. I never thought, oh, that's a symbiote. I'm like, I just was reading it and I'm thinking, oh, this is Gore and this is the fucking whatever. This is the energy that he has and it's the sword that he's wielding. I think that it's interesting too because he's created. We don't learn this right away, and you know, I'm sorry if I'm spoiling this. This book's been out for fucking 9 years, so spoiler alert for you guys that haven't read it yet. But he's got a wife and kid, right?
Yeah. Oh man.
But we learn that he's created them. Like they're not real. Like I thought the whole time like they're real, right? But when
they were real initially,
but not in this,
not in that particular timeline.
Right. They did exist, but right now they don't. So when she loves him and she's like all for what he's doing, but then when she calls him her god, fucking you see the switch like flipping this dude, and he fucking kills her because he's killing gods. He doesn't want to be thought of as a god. That battle that he has within himself, like almost to the realization where he's like, fuck, like he realizes like he is kind of godly in terms of what he's doing, right? And the power that he's wielding. And that was pretty crazy to see. And when his son comes out, and he's like, wait for her at the tower. And then you just see like he looks off and that fucking hand coming up from the dirt from his mom that was just killed. I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, dude. Like, this fool is fucking one of the most evil motherfuckers ever created at Marvel.
Like, there's a line when all three Thors show up, and he just kind of looks at him and smiles, and he's like, you should have brought more Thors. I'm like, and I'm like, yo, I hope he says that shit in the fucking movie when Odin's son and Jane Foster show up.
Like, dude, they have to like get some of these lines. These are some of the best lines ever written.
Some of the best lines. Like, I can't wait for all of it to play out. It's gonna be so good, dude. Like, first off, Jane fucking Foster. That off topic excites me. This particular book is definitely. I mean, especially the climax, right? It's literally for about on chapter 11, that last chapter, right? For a literal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, damn. For like 6 pages straight in Godbomb, it's literally all explosions, bombastic fighting, or just epic reveals. Like 6 issues straight out of 21 issues. 21 pages is fucking unheard of. We're talking about more than a fourth of your freaking book is fucking explosions and fight scenes.
I know, it's fucking crazy. One of my favorite pages too is when the God Bomb goes off, and Thor is sitting there with both hammers, for his hammer and King Thor's hammer, and the captions are saying that as the gods' skin the flesh is being peeled from their skin throughout time, all the gods, all they can see is one god fighting to save them all. One god, dude. Like, I was like, holy fuck, dude. Like, because you just see him and he's sitting there, and like that's the thing that I love about Esad Ribic is his faces and just like the power and emotion he has in them. And he's just sitting there with both hammers, raining thunder upon this bomb, trying to destroy it, before finally he takes over the Necro Sword. And he fucking brings that within him. And like, I kind of, the way gore is taken out in here, is like so like nonchalant that I thought that could have been done like maybe not differently, but like, because young Thor literally just like after, Thor has the Necro Sword within him, young Thor just like, just lops his head off with Yarnborn. Fucking like cuts the head off. And I just thought that one page though was just so fucking. Are you looking for it?
Yeah, no, I already found it.
Yeah, that one right there. It's just fuck, dude. Just the visceral imagery of that, just like it really resonated with me and just stuck with me. I think I read it this morning. That's probably why it's like just so fucking like.
This picture is one of my favorites.
That one too. That one is.
This is one of my favorites, where it's just not a lot going on, but there's a lot going on.
You know what he channels? I feel like he channels a lot of Frazetta. I don't know if Esad Ribic is influenced by Frazetta at all.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But it's like he's like this, almost like this generation's Frazetta, and that's I hope I'm not insulting any Frazetta fans out there when I say this, but that's just kind of what I get, the vibes
No,
I
but I
get
mean,
from his art.
but dude, you put this under a sepia tone. This cover alone, you put this cover under a sepia tone, and I swear it'd be a Frazetta piece, like a
Yeah,
modern Frazetta.
yeah, he's otherworldly with the talent, and I
Yeah.
think like he's on Eternals with Kieran Gillen. I don't know if you still haven't read it, but my God, that book is just is something to behold, dude. Like you have to fucking
Oh no,
check it out.
I read the first issue. Okay, I mean the run itself is not for me, but holy crap! Though that where I remember how I was talking about how he will make the character so minuscule and the landscape so massive. Like
Yes.
he executes that well in
Well,
Eternals.
he does it too with
Absolutely.
Thor. When Thor's like
Yeah.
flying, like you see like the panel, like Thor's like really small with his like hammer flying out, and like
No.
I don't know if you know the panel I'm talking about. It's like at the bottom of the page. I
Yeah.
don't know if it's this arc or if it was the last arc, but it's yeah. I like how he does that. How he
No,
doesn't
here.
like really
Right here.
emphasize. That's exact. Yeah, that is exactly the panel I'm thinking of. It is. It's just. It's amazing, dude. I just.
he
Oh man,
captures
just
he captures he captures uh scale really well as far as like how big even a larger than life character like Thor really is in comparison to the universe.
yeah. I mean, it really is two titans of the industry creating some of the best
Shit.
comic books ever
It's
done.
shit.
Oh yeah,
Shit
dude.
right there. Damn. Just
Yeah,
fantastic stuff, dude. Like
yeah.
I can't believe I mean there are a bunch of people whom I know that still haven't read this, and mainly because of the fact that they say like I'm not really a Thor fan. It's like, oh, this will make you a Thor fan.
I
And
know.
what I like about it is what in one from 1 through 11, the only other Avenger we see is Iron Man for like 4 pages.
True. I that's kind of what I like. I don't really like having Avengers pop up in other books just to pop
Yeah,
up. It doesn't feel like natural. But I do
like
like the pages with Iron Man. It's in Godbomb, right?
yeah,
Okay, so the pages with Iron Man where he doesn't he's not even there that long, but he actually fucking goes to him and says, "I need your help."
yeah, and
When the
yeah, even Tony is like, hey man, I've never seen you like this unnerved before. Are you okay? Like, you sure you don't need the Avengers on this one?
yeah.
like you know what I mean? It's crazy to think that like something has shook Thor that much where it's like showing.
And that's what it goes. I go back to with like when I say like he knows fear, right? And he's not afraid of anything, but like that really shows the imperfections of Thor Odinson and like and plays out throughout the run, right? Like that he is not infallible and he is really humanized in a way that I don't think has ever really been done before. I again, I haven't read every Thor comic book, but what Thor I have read, he wasn't like this. You know what I mean? Like Jason Aaron just really infused the character with just so much humanity within his godhood
Yeah. Oh
that
yeah. Oh, that's yeah.
you know what I mean? Like it's really really interesting and gives the character I don't know how to put this. It's hard for me to put it into words, but it's just like I've never been more enthralled by a Thor comic book the way I was enthralled with this
He
from
he
beginning to end.
he he made Thor relatable.
Yeah, which
You
is I
know.
mean to a god, like
Yeah,
he
yeah,
makes
and
it
the
relatable.
thing is, it's like I always considered Thor kind of like, "Have at thee, foul demon!" Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, like kind of a caricature of himself,
right.
right? Like, I mean, I honestly don't really. I mean, even in other books when Thor would appear, I honestly don't remember a time I was excited for Thor to show up. Like, right? Like, oh, Captain America shows up in anything. Oh shit! Oh man, it's Captain America. Iron Man shows up in anything. Oh shit! Wolverine shows up in everything. Oh shit! Like,
Yeah.
but like Thor show, I was like even in Civil War when it was like Android Thor, like it's like whatever.
I
I mean,
thought it was cool, but I liked Thor back then. So,
yeah, but you know what I mean.
but I
But you
get
know
it.
what I
Yeah.
mean. Like now, I'm super down for Thor to be in anything and everything, because this just gave me something to love Thor for. So now going forward, anyone can write anything Thor, and I'll be interested in it off top because I know at one point he was here. He was at this point where it was just all the craziness. So everything that's happening now, directly or indirectly had something to do with Jason Aaron's Thor.
Yeah, I mean it's a phenomenal run, man. I think we've said it multiple times before we even did these episodes on the run itself. Like, this is one of my favorite runs of all time. I find it hard to believe something could top this, really, in terms of Thor. I think that's why, like, every Thor story I'm going to read is going to be held up to this.
Yeah. If I was to ever create like a mandatory reading list where people fans of the superhero genre should read, this would easily be at the top of the list, where you have to read this. I don't care what, like, I could give you like another 3 or 4 titles aside from this, but this is the one that you have to read. This is quintessential fucking storytelling. This is the utilization of religion, metaphor, and age and time. Like, this book has it all.
Yeah.
These first 2 arcs have it all, and it doesn't falter after that.
Do you remember that issue where he goes around and he's like gifting people stuff, and then he sits down with Jane, learns about her cancer?
Yeah. And gives.
And then
like, oh, Jane Foster.
And then her boyfriend at the time like pokes his head through, and he's like, "I don't think your boyfriend likes me." Yeah, he's like, "I don't think your boyfriend likes me," and she's like, "Well, my ex-boyfriend, who's a god, just flew down. Like, of course he probably doesn't like you." And then he takes her to the moon. Because she wants to see a sunset, and she even tells him, like, now he probably really doesn't like you, And I just think I really love that interaction, and it's cool to know where Jane ends up, like, because I forgot about that particular issue. But yeah, I mean, Jason just writes like these great bombastic moments and these really great quiet moments throughout his run.
I feel like for his Jane Foster, I mean, the bombastic moments were fantastic because there is a level of sacrifice that Jane Foster is constantly going through that we will talk about later. But the quiet moments that Jane has as Jane Foster, not as
Thor,
Goddess of Thunder, but as Jane Foster, where it's like, when she's in the hospital. I don't want to say it, but like, a lot of moments, and it's all even more powerful because of what she's going through.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is an amazing run. I mean, like, I could go on for days, but then we'll have nothing to talk about when we actually talk about the other arcs that we're going to talk about. So I'll cap off my thoughts here with, much like I said with God Butcher, go read Godbomb, read Thor by Jason Aaron. Don't watch the movie first. Read
the first 11 issues first, and it's available everywhere, digitally or in print or whatever means you go about getting your comics. Like, just go read it. It's really wordy, but that's because it's a lot of storytelling, and it's a lot.
It's not wordy in a bad way at all.
Yeah, sure. It's like it's not Tolkien wordy. Yeah. It's George R.R. Martin wordy.
Yeah, there you go. It's really good. It's really good. It's a good description of it. But yeah, go read Thor. Jason Aaron he's amazing. Esad Ribic, amazing. So that's all I got. And go pick it up. And also, after you pick up Thor, make sure you like, follow, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The Comic Lounge. Follow Dylan at the Dillbot on Instagram. Dillbot is dope on Twitter. And on that note, we're out.
Later, buds.